Hi, I'm John. I'm the chair of Oxfordshire Scouting, although I've done a few other things in my scouting lifetime. And this is my 62nd Scouter.
Three, two, one.
What is your favourite mischief on camp?
I guess the answer is helping young people understand the realities of what being on camp really means. Years ago, I took a group of Cub Scouts from inner city Bristol on camp. And some of them had never been out of Bristol at all. And we went to the countryside in Gloucestershire on Minchinhampton Common, if anybody knows it. And on Minchinhampton Common, one of the things that it's famous for is that over the summer, the cows are allowed out on the common. And I remember walking along with a six, and Leon saying to me, "What's that, Kayla?" And I said, "Well, that Leon, that's a cow." And he went, "It's bloody big, isn't it?" And I said, it is. And please don't swear right now. Do you know that your milk for your cereal comes out of that? Leon then didn't have milk on his cereal for the rest of the week. And his mum contacted me afterwards to say that I had completely destroyed any interest Leon had in having milk on anything. So, yeah, there's a bit of mischief for you.
What badge do you think is missing from the programme?
I think I'd like to see one these days that celebrates properly the relationships that young people can have with scouts from other countries using social media. And I know that's very specific, but we have international badges and things like that. But what we don't do is celebrate the amazing friendships that have grown up, often virtually. And yet that's what scouting's all about. So it would be great to have something that celebrated that. And I would love to see more groups joining up online. Perhaps once the pandemic is over, doing what we're doing and setting up a Zoom call with a camera in one side of the room with everybody in place, but being able to say hi to somebody on the other side of the world. That would be very, very cool.
What is the best piece of advice that you've been given?
Oh, well, that's really easy.
Okay.
When I was about 8, my mum said to me, she introduced me to a quotation from Hamlet, and it's Polonius talking to Laertes, and the quotation goes, "This above all to thine own self be true, and it will follow as the night the day. Thou then canst not be false to any man." And you can change the pronouns as you wish, obviously. But the point is, be true to yourself. Be true to your own values. Be true to the person that you are and want to be. And other people will then take you as you are. Nobody's going to love you. Not everybody is going to love you. But if you can be true to yourself, then that's pretty darn good. And it fits pretty well with that Scout promise,
What is your favourite place to visit?
Well, of course, being a diplomat, the answer is the last place that I was, or the place that I am right now. But the truth of the matter is, there is one country in the world that is undoubtedly my second home, and probably has taught me more about social justice, about equity, about human rights, about the love of people for their fellow human beings, and that's Uganda.
Wow.
I was lucky enough to visit Uganda nearly 30 years ago, for the very first time, when I was working on a project with the Scouts called Unite, which joined up young people in this country, in the United Kingdom, with the young people of Uganda on a child immunisation programme. And we did it with UNICEF, the UK Scouts and Uganda Scouts. And I was lucky enough to go and visit Uganda. And they say that the first time that you set foot in an African country, the soil from the ground somehow gets into your system. And it does. And I have been back and forwards from Uganda for the last 30 years. Some of my greatest friends live there. And it is a country and a people that always make me feel grounded and understand what it is to be a scout.
Where is your favourite park run?
Bicester.
Okay.
It's my home park run. And the reason it's my favourite is because that's where all my mates run to. And I've got some great mates.
What's your favourite food?
Spaghetti bolognese, but it has to be homemade. And it has to be made to the recipe that my mum taught me when I was going away to university. And she was terrified that if I didn't know 453 things to do with mince, I would die.
How would you recognise a young person and an adult who's gone above and beyond?
The obvious thing is remembering to say thank you. And those two words really, really make a difference. And sometimes we forget in scouting to say thank you, not just to those who go above and beyond, but actually to those who are doing those extraordinary things week in, week out. And if we're not careful, we're at risk of taking them for granted. So yeah, it's just turning around and saying thank you.
What's one thing unusual you always pack for camp?
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't just pack for camp, but I pack wherever I go in the world, and that's a tube of Vegemite. I'm really, really sorry, but I grew up on Vegemite, and I can't have breakfast without it.
What's the earliest memory of scouting that you have?
Going on camp, moving. I was never a Cub Scout, but my little brother was, and that made me decide to become a scout. And I went on camp as my very first introduction to scouting. So rather than going to a normal meeting, Skip said, well, why don't you just come away for the weekend on this district camp? And it was at Cranham in Gloucestershire. We were camping on the side of a hill. It rained. I got absolutely sopping wet. The tent didn't do what the tent was meant to do. The sewn-in ground sheet turned into a swimming pool, and I thought that's what camping was for a good 3 or 4 years. I thought that you just suffered in a just appalling way. So yeah, that was my introduction to scouting.
What is one positive for you to come out of 2020?
I guess the big positive from 2020 is the resilience that young people have shown the world over. They have continued doing their scouting and other forms of non-formal education and learning. Of course, there are others available, some of which I have quite a lot to do with. But they've carried on doing their scouting regardless of the pandemic. And the little acts of kindness that they have shown to their communities in all the service that they have rendered has been mind-blowing.
What 3 words best describes you?
A bloody nuisance.
What's your proudest achievement?
I think probably getting my Gold Duke of Edinburgh's award. When I was 22, I did my gold at university. That's how I came into scouting as a leader, because I volunteered with the local Cub Pack. That that achievement set me up for my career, and ultimately set me up literally to run the Duke of Edinburgh's, or support the leadership of the Duke of Edinburgh's award around the world. So yeah, pretty chuffed by that.
What's the longest that you've hiked for?
Only 10 days. I was fortunate about 3 or 4 years ago to join a group of young people who were hiking towards, but not all the way to, base camp up in the Everest valleys. And I joined them on their expedition as one of the supervising adults, along with some people who were a great deal more qualified than I am. And we didn't walk a very long way each day, but when you're at altitude, it really feels like it. I developed something called the Sherpa Shuffle, which means just making sure you put one foot in front of the other, and don't worry how slow you go.
What gets you up in the morning?
I'm lucky enough to have the best job in the world. I'm the Secretary General of the Duke of Edinburgh's Award, and I get up and I'm involved in conversations with leaders around the world, with the people who operate the award around the world, the various chief executives. I get to go to some amazing places. I get to meet some amazing people, and I can't think of a better job. So, you know, I get up because I love doing what I do.
What's your favourite story you've ever told?
Oh my goodness. Well, there is one story that pretty much everybody who has ever heard me speak has heard me make reference to. I'll tell you the story, shall I?
Yeah.
You're sitting comfortably.
I'm sitting. I'm comfortable.
Then we'll begin. Once upon a time, because that's the way all good stories begin.
Yep.
Once upon a time, there was an eagle, and the eagle died.
Oh.
So you may say,
Ah.
good. But before it had done so, it had laid an egg.
Oh.
And the egg was found by a chicken, and the chicken hatched the egg. So this little eaglet chicken grew up believing that it was a chicken, not an eagle. It scratched and it scrabbled at the ground. It never learnt to fly. One day, when it was very, very old, it looked up into the sky and it saw this majestic bird flying above it. And it turned to its mate and it said, "What's that?" It said to Dad, "Oh, that's the eagle. That's the king of the birds. It lives up there. We live down here because we're chickens." And that eagle chicken lived and died chicken because that's what it thought it was.
Wow.
And the moral of the story, of course, is obvious. In everything that we do in Scouting, our responsibility, our duty, maybe, is to help young people realise that they ain't chickens, and to discover the eagle inside themselves, and to help them to fly.
That's amazing. That is ace. That is.